Parents, The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. The subtitle is How the Great Rewiring of Childhood is Causing an Epidemic of Mental Illness. I want to talk briefly about what young people need desperately today. When you look at the generation before us, the Generation Alpha or Generation Z or Gen Y, Millennials, you'll realize that there's some key elements that are missing, and we need to help our children to flourish in these elements. Let me go over a few of them. Number one, identity and purpose. Young people need to realize that they've been created in the image of God and their lives have purpose and meaning. They need to remember that because they're growing up in a day and age where the world can, try to dictate to them what they should do with their lives or how they should live or who they are. But their identity needs to be in Christ and in truth. That's number one. Young people need to remember their identity. Ephesians chapter 2, 8-10 talks about this. 2 Corinthians 5, Ephesians 2 says that therefore we have been created in Christ Jesus, right? Well, God's workmanship created in Christ Jesus. Identity is critical, and social media is not helping matters when people don't know how to live. So young people need to know their purpose and identity. They need that. Number two, vision. In the era of excessive technological advancement, knowledge is cheap, but the problem now is, do people know where they're going? Do they have a vision for their lives? Vision matters. They need to know where they're going, and then we need to provide them with some mentors to guide them into those fields. So for example, if my son wants to become a zoologist, I find a zoologist who has a passion for helping young people, and then I provide that support for him. Number three, let's make it more practical. Tied to number two, they need to have a vision in general, but they need to be doing career planning as a deliberate effort of sitting down and planning out, okay, here's what I'm working on. I want to be a doctor. I'm going to this job shadowing thing. I'm going to read books about the Mayo brothers or whatever it might be. I'm going to read Ben Carson's book, Think Big or Gifted Hands. They need to be planning out their career. So number one, young people need to have identity and purpose. Number two, young people need to have a vision. Number three, young people need to have career planning. Number four, young people need to know how to learn. And by the way, as far as the career planning, they can change their careers later. That's fine. And the funny thing with America, by the way, is that sometimes people say, well, people can always change their mind. And what if I say I want to be a doctor and I decide I change my mind? That's okay. America is one of the only places that an artist can become a medical doctor down the road. It's the only place that a lawyer can become a physician assistant down the road. That can happen. America has ways for you to change, but we need to be going. They need to always have a direction of where they're going, and then they pivot as they need to. Young people need to know who they are. They need to have vision. They need to have career planning as part of their work. And then they need to know how to learn effectively and efficiently. Those are things that young people need. Young people need to learn how to have true friendships. I had some students tell me today that there's something called Be Real, social media network. I'm like, what? Sorry, what is that? Like, we have Facebook, so that's not good enough. There's now one called Be Real. I don't know anything more about it, so please don't judge me for being ignorant about this. But my point is, I just don't know, is it necessary for people to be spending more time on social media devices or apps, or should they be more face-to-face, interacting, having good conversation, building true friendships, and actually being real with one another? Young people need examples. They need to see how to, they need models. They need role models, right? Parents, that's part of what we need to do, is provide them with role models to guide them and encourage them. Now, nobody's perfect. I know that 100%. But really encouraging the young people to understand the importance of learning from other people's mistakes. And I could write a whole book about my mistakes. And I'll talk about that in a different series of just how to learn from your mistakes. And I thank God for his mercies and for new life, but we do need to talk about young people need to have examples. And then young people need to have a limit on social media use, as well as they just should not have it if they're less than, some countries say 16, like Australia. I'm beginning to think like 18. Like, my concern with the social media side of things is that time management can become a problem for young people. The content can affect them, and then they might not be able to build true friendships or real friendships, good friendships. So we need to encourage young people to have true friendships, limit their social media use, increase their reading skills and reading time. And that's what I recommend. So subscribe for more. We're going to keep talking about how to encourage young people. Have a blessed day.